Hello, and welcome to Halton Women's Place, a show dedicated to the only women's shelter in the region and about the issue of women abuse in our community and beyond. My name is Carmen Bozzo, and I am your host today. I have a great guest today, we're going to talk about something that's really relevant, not just all the time, but especially right now as the month is September, school is starting, and we know that we are talking so much more about campus safety. And we are proud that Sheridan is taking a stand against sexual assault and violence in our community through the school and through policies and procedures. And this is such an important discussion to have. And I'm happy to have it with you right in the beginning of the school season.
Thank you very much for having me.
And Sunad, you are the Manager of Student Rights and Responsibilities for Student Affairs.
That's correct.
At Sheridan College.
That's correct.
So you know this topic more than anyone.
Correct.
Tell me something about the Dare to Care campaign and what that's about at Sheridan.
Great, thank you. So in 2015, when we were mandated to create a standalone policy, we created a task force at Sheridan College for the prevention of sexual assault and sexual violence. Mm-hmm. And we were sitting around a table planning about how we can get students to care about consent, healthy relationships, taking a stand against sexual assault or violence. And the concept of Dare to Care came up. And what Dare to Care is, it's a bystander philosophy which teaches our students if you see something or hear something, do something. Mm-hmm. So we're learning that as much as we plan at a table, it's our students who are going to make a difference on campus. So the Dare to Care campaign empowers student leaders to truly create the campus that they want to create.
That's fantastic. That says everything right there to me. It really does. And working at the shelter and with our public education program that I know I've talked about so many times on the show, without teaching our children about consent and how not to be a bystander, if we don't talk to them at that age, by the time that they get to university, it's not too late, but it's a conversation that's hard to have. And so I'm so happy that you're doing this with your students at Sheridan College. Now, what are some of the resources that you provide?
Okay, great. So we have both internal resources and external resources. So on campus, we provide resources to our local counseling services or anyone who's been impacted by sexual assault or sexual violence who requires accommodations. Okay. We have that through Sheridan College. Mm-hmm. But what we're very proud about is our external partners. So Halton Women's Place has been an amazing partner. We've partnered with other organizations such as Savis, and we're also in 2 regions. So within the Peel region, we are also partnering with Peel Victim Services and with Nina's Place and Halton Place in both regions. So in terms of resources, for us it's not necessarily where you get the help, it's just getting the help.
Yes.
So what we're doing is making sure that our students have support in terms of accessing resources, regardless if they're both on campus or off campus.
Right.
We provide things such as taxi chits or anything else to make that ease of transportation if required. And those are just some of the resources we offer.
That's fantastic. How has the, response from students been to Dare to Care?
That's a great question, because originally we weren't sure what Dare to Care was going to be. It was just a concept at first in 2015. But what we found is that our students have taken it on and are living it like a philosophy. It previously was an umbrella for sexual assault and sexual violence, but our students have taken the concept of Dare to Care to everything, to mental health, to LGBTQ plus relationships, to safety, to affordable books, to social causes. So the concept and philosophy of Dare to Care is branching out to what else our students dare to care about. But the essence of the bystander campaign and our commitment against sexual assault and sexual violence remains a primary focus.
It's fantastic. And the more that we get our students involved and make them feel that they have a student voice, I think the better it is for not just their school, but our community. We need to hear from them about how to keep each other safe and accountable, and like you said about bystander intervention and how to be a bystander and what that means. What are some of the tips, or what are some of the things that you say to to students about being a bystander?
Great. So what we do at the start of the year is we train approximately 250 student leaders.
Wow.
So some will be through our STARS program and the others through our peer mentor program.
Yeah.
So we also train all of our RAs, our residence advisors. And what we train them is the 4 principles of bystander philosophy, and that is most people won't act because they don't recognize the situation.
Right.
So we're teaching them the skills to recognize the situation. Some people don't feel empowered to act.
Right.
We're empowering all of our student leaders to make a difference on our campus, and this is their campus. It's interesting, if I walk down the hallway and say hello to someone will say to me, "Do you know them?"
Right.
Why do we have to know someone to reach out and ask them if they need a hand or how they're doing?
Right.
The other bystander tips of what we're doing is, it's interesting just to say, see something, do something. But what is that something that we do?
Right.
So we've worked very closely with the Draw the Line campaign, the provincial campaign, and the Governor General award-winning speaker, Julie Lalonde, to teach our leaders, our student leaders, about what to do, how to intervene safely,
Yes.
Where you can report or ask for help on campus and off campus.
Yeah.
So it's really just giving students the awareness of what a situation might be,
Yep.
where to turn to help in a timely manner.
That is fantastic. I think that all of that, the resources that we can provide our youth is crucial to how they reach out and why they would feel like they want to reach out. It's interesting that you call it, it's their campus, right? Because I think then they take some ownership in that, and that's when things get done, and that's when they feel that they should be a part of something bigger than who they are, right, and what they're there for. It's interesting about bystander and learning about being a bystander, because you do want to say, you can't, oh, don't be a bystander, do something like you said, but we don't know what to do.
Right.
And even teaching our children, I mean, we've talked earlier before the show, and I've mentioned this on the show before about raising 2 young boys and teaching them as well about not being a bystander. But I have to teach them what that means and how to do that safely, because in the end, you always want your children and whoever is intervening in a situation that may be unsafe, how to stay safe, but still be able to do something or say something, and have them feel that they can do that without risking their own safety.
Right. The original Bringing in the Bystander program, which was taught to many of the colleges, teaches that action takes many forms. So what we're trying to teach our young people, regardless if on campus or off campus, action takes many forms. So it doesn't require you to physically intervene in any situation, and of utmost importance is safety.
Right.
So again, action can take form in the form of an email or a phone call or telling someone. It doesn't require you to physically intervene in situations. And really what we're trying to teach is that inaction is not the way to go.
Right.
You can't forget that you saw something, you can't forget that you heard something. We need you to take a timely response, but that doesn't mean putting yourself in harm's way. Okay.
Now, I have to ask, because I know this topic is pretty popular, prominent in our world right now, is the word consent. And do you think, well, actually, before I ask this question, I'm going to ask, why is consent important?
Okay. Well, consent is very important, not only for the basis of healthy relationships, but I think consent really speaks to the respect that we have for one another. It translates. And I often say to my students that much of your learning is going to happen outside of the classroom. So we're hoping that we're helping them understand the basis of consent, consensual relationship, respect for others, healthy relationship, respect for self.
Absolutely.
And it's all about choices for our students. And we believe that understanding consent is very important to give them the knowledge that they need.
That's right.
So yeah, we believe that consent is really important just for the basis of respectful relationships as we proceed through life.
And do you think, working with students at a university level, that a lot of your students already know what consent is? Do they have the knowledge?
So I can't generalize, but in my role, I would have to say that many students don't unfortunately understand what consent is. So what many of our students leaders try to do is to push against the common myths out there. We still find that the myths exist. Previous promiscuity might mean that I have consent.
Right.
Or there are some, unfortunately, interpretations by the way someone dresses or acts which suggests it suggests consent. I think a major area that we need to focus on is the role of alcohol or drugs in being able to provide and obtain consent.
Right.
The reality is our young people are drinking.
Yep.
Our young people are engaging in sexual intercourse.
Yep.
It's just having to teach them the impact of those substances in the ability to receive or ask for consent.
Right.
I think the other thing we really need to talk about as it relates to consent is that it's not ongoing, and that it can be removed at any time.
Absolutely.
And that it changes. It's also very important that the initiator of every one of the activities understands that it is their responsibility. So while many of our students do understand this, I do think that we still have a job to do in combating some of these myths.
And we hope that at Halton Women's Place with our public education program that we are going to help you with that as we educate the little ones as they go into their elementary school and high school. By the time they get to Sheridan College, they'll be already leaders in your program. That would be amazing to do right there. Now, are there other universities that have this type of campaign or task force?
I'd imagine that every university or college has some sort of campaign or office that addresses sexual assault or sexual violence. Some schools have a designated sexual violence office. I know that some schools are doing stuff such as consent is sexy, and many are using the provincial campaigns as Draw the Line.
Yeah.
Back in 2015, when the first news report came out, there were very few schools that had a standalone policy.
Okay.
So with Bill 132, all schools now have a sexual assault, sexual violence policy, and I imagine that they have their own associated campaigns, because to me, I've always looked at this as a community issue. So I'm thankful for having partnered with Halton Women's Place and For Her We Speak, an event for Rite Parsons, or on previous Take Back the Nights, because for me, and for all of us, we've taken a pledge to take a stand against sexual assault and sexual violence in our community.
Absolutely.
And I say this to my students that I think individually you can make a difference, but together we can change the world.
Absolutely.
And this is why I'm thankful to have external partners such as yourself, such as Savis, such as the hospital-based organizations, and even the police have helped guide us quite a bit as well.
Well, on that note, I believe we can change the world as well. We need to work together, and we're going to do it with our youth.
Thank you.
And I'm so glad that we have this partnership with Halton Women's Place and Sheridan College. It is greatly, greatly appreciated, that all the work that you're doing. And I hope the community, after watching the show, learns a little bit more about the stand that you are all taking. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I want to thank Sunand, and we are going to be right back. We're going to talk about pet therapy and safe pet, and what all that means with abusive women.
Okay.
That was awesome. Welcome back to Halton Women's Place. Now we're going to shift gears and we're going to speak a little bit about pet therapy and our Safe Pet program at the shelter. I am happy to have Hillary Borner from St. John Ambulance Dog Therapy Program from Oakville, and Deanna Jackson, our Client Services Supervisor at Halton Women's Place, to talk about what is pet therapy and what is our Safe Pet program at the shelter. Welcome and thank you for coming. And I forgot, oh my goodness, how did I forget to introduce Bentley? We have Bentley here today as well to join us. Hey Bentley, I think you're going to be the big talker here today. Hillary, thank you for coming, and Deanna as well. Tell the community, what exactly is pet therapy?
Go ahead. So, we're with the St. John Ambulance Dog Therapy Program, and we're about 95 dogs, and we visit about 105 facilities in Oakville, and we go for all sorts of events or just regular weekly visits, and we can do mental health weeks at the schools. We visit seniors' places, the hospital, library programs, reading programs, and it's just, it's been proven that the dogs do kind of relax people, and the blood pressure goes down, and it certainly is a great introduction to talk to people who don't necessarily get people to talk to during the day. For example, at the seniors' places. So we have terrific discussions about the dog, and then it leads into what they did in their lives, and their families and dogs that they had. So it's a real connection to people, basically.
And it's a different, I guess, when you use the word therapy, and we talked about this with our therapy program, it's a different way to provide therapy as opposed to what the typical type of meaning of what therapy actually, and it scares people sometimes, that word, right, therapy.
Right.
But when we talk about having pets to be a part of that, it must be so much more accommodating, but also relaxing for those people who need therapy but are afraid to go through conventional therapy.
And what I find is just people open up. Where someone might be sitting quiet in an area, and you go up and talk to them, and then the whole, they just talk, and with children sometimes, things come up, and because we also go to the Lighthouse for Grieving Children as well, and it's just hugely beneficial to everybody.
And is it just dogs that, I guess your program is just dogs?
Yeah, our program is just dogs, yeah.
And what's the process for a dog to become a registered dog therapist?
Well, all of our dogs are our own dogs. They're our own family dogs. And you don't necessarily do any specific training while they're growing up. Just the regular well-behaving and sitting and listening to you and that kind of thing.
Oh, like children?
Yeah, basically. But these guys get to go and be tested. So they go through a testing process to make sure they're compatible with, people and other dogs, and they're not afraid of wheelchairs and loud noises and that kind of thing, and that they have the personality to do it, and that the owners also have the personality to do it. So you go through that testing, and then there's a second test to work with children. It's a child test, and they're literally put into this room with maybe 10, 15 kids, and that are running around, and they have to stay calm and not get aggressive with the children, obviously, and then they can work with the kids.
Wow, sounds wonderful. Yeah. Maybe we all need that type of training.
Yeah, I know. So he gives me a therapy at home for sure.
Yeah. Is he your only dog?
We have a puppy at home as well. Yeah.
And would you put the puppy?
That's the idea.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah. Fantastic. I was just saying, my kids are going to be so excited that I had a dog on my show today. It's very relaxing already, I see. And I see he's very relaxed. That's lovely.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to pass this to you, Deanna, because, working in the shelter, we do have the pet therapy program that comes through. And what's the sense you get from our clients?
Oh, my goodness. So first, it's the children, right? So the children know the days that the dogs are coming. In past, they've made things for the dogs. They've drawn pictures. One was off sick, so they did a, hope you feel better card. So for the kids, it's so beneficial. We bring them in a couple at a time so that the dogs don't get overrun, but also so that the children get their time with the dogs. And moms say afterwards, like, the kids just, the energy level drops. They're done, they're ready for bed, there's no fighting, nothing, it's just seeing the dogs off to bed kind of a thing, right? And then we have our single women or elderly women who then come in and visit. And I've seen them where there's been like 6 women just sitting around with the dog, and the dog's going from one to the other, and they're all kind of sitting there and talking, which maybe they wouldn't normally do. But they're just so relaxed in this setting So it's great to see that, and we've been so fortunate with the dogs that we have coming into both shelters.
Right.
We have a new one coming in, and I was sent a little email about it last night, and the dog's name was Guinness, and I thought, oh, a golden, right? And I popped it open. No, it's a bulldog. So yeah, I'm sure the kids are going to be absolutely thrilled when they see that with all the wrinkles and stuff, right? So yeah. And even the ones who are anxious. They usually stand back a little bit and watch the other kids at first, or they'll come up and they'll touch the tail and that, because that's safe. It's away from, the teeth, right, as far as the kids are concerned. But within a couple of weeks, they're right in there with the dog, right? So, yeah, it's really awesome to see that happen. Yeah.
So, how often do the dogs come into the shelters?
The shelter? Once a week right now.
Oh, wow.
And I think in both shelters, I think we're up to 3 different visiting dogs with their handlers, right? So it's a nice variety too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all different sizes, right? From like little tiny, and then all the way up to one we have named Theo. He's probably around Bentley size that comes in.
And again, it's a great way to provide therapy without the kids, or even the mums and the women, feeling as though they're having conventional therapy. Because sometimes that's not what they want, or they kind of resist it a little bit. But this is a different way to bring them through their crisis and their chaotic life and whatever's happening in that time, which we know is horrible in terms of what they are going through and their situations, and trying to navigate through lots of systems and what's next and all of that. And so this provides a different type of therapy that
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I don't even think they really think the therapy. It's just the dogs are coming, right?
Yes.
They don't really think of the benefit that they receive from it.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody recognizes it, and especially, like I said, so the moms know, because the children are just like, they're relaxed, they're a little bit more focused, they're ready for bed, right? But I don't think anybody thinks of it as therapy.
Yeah.
And yet it is so therapeutic, right?
Yes.
So, yeah.
That's fantastic. And so now, shifting gears a little bit to Safe Pet, I want to ask you, because I don't know if the community or everyone in the community understands that having a pet when you're at home, in an abusive home, is a barrier actually for some women to leave that home. Can you explain why?
So we know statistics show us that probably somewhere is around 42, 44, 45%, depending on who's done the statistics. Women will not leave when they have a pet in the home. The pet is usually the one person that provides, that provides unconditional love, right? So they're there for them all the time. Where partner may also be abusing the dog.
Right.
We know that when there's women abuse, there's often child abuse and pet abuse in the home. Right. So women don't want to leave their pets behind, right? So to keep the pet safe, they're staying in that same environment, right? So what we now have is we have the Safe Pet program. It started a few years ago through the OVMA, which is the Ontario Veterinary Medical Association. And so we are really fortunate that we have some clinics that work with us, that when a woman calls us and she has a pet, we can provide shelter, safe shelter for that pet. So while she's in the shelter, the animal is safe as well. So
fantastic.
They'll get a vet visit, make sure that they're well, they're healthy, they're up to date on vaccinations, and then they're secured from that point forward.
And just recently we received funding from PetSmart,
PetSmart Charities,
which allowed us to continue that program and take in more.
And we've been able to expand it. So. Now we can actually kind of ask women, is there a pet in the home that you're concerned about? Because we have the means to provide the shelter for the pet.
Right.
So PetSmart, we got $17,000 from them. So that was huge for us to even be able to buy crates. So we have crates on site. We have people who can transport, the vet checks, all that kind of stuff. And then the cost for keeping them safe.
Yes.
Because the woman is sometimes with us for 3 and 4 months.
Yeah.
So that's a long time to provide
Yeah.
safe shelter for us.
And with this program as well, she's able to go and visit. Is that right?
Absolutely, yep.
Yes.
Yep. Yep.
Which is key, not just to have your pet looked after, but that you will also be able to continue that relationship with your pet, which you said is therapeutic.
Absolutely. It's that bond, right?
Yeah.
And so fortunate
Yeah.
that there is a space out that they can go and they can visit, spend some time. They can take them off site if they want to, and then bring them back, right?
Yeah.
So just to keep that, and the children can go out there as well if there's
Right.
children, because again, so the therapy that you get from a service animal like this with your own pet, right?
Yes.
So it does the same
Yes,
thing.
absolutely.
And after a while, it's hard for the dog sometimes because it's a new environment. It's not something they're used to. But
Right.
once they get used to the fact that the people are coming back and they're
Yes.
not being left there,
Yes.
it's great for the animal as well, right?
Yeah.
So
Is it just dogs that we have for Safe Pet right now, or?
no,
Okay.
pretty much everything we can provide shelter for. Except for possibly a horse. We
Right.
might have to work on that one a little bit, but yeah, everything else, bird, reptile, dogs, cats, yeah.
Fantastic. This is great. And I know that the community get involved, in terms of maybe helping us out with the program, to continue the program after the grant is finished, but as well we have volunteers that help.
Exactly, yep. So we have volunteer drivers, which we are so grateful for, that will take the animal
To
to the clinic and so we are so grateful for those volunteers as well.
Well, we are grateful for both of you to have this program. Deanna, you're a champion in our shelter for having this program. We thank Bentley for being so well behaved. I am thrilled with this show and with this information that we are spreading to our community. Know a little bit more about what Halton Women's Place does, our partners. I am so grateful for our guests, Sunand, who helped us earlier on with the Sheridan College Dare to Care campaign, Deanna and Hillary with Safe Pet and Pet Therapy. Thank you.